What is up, everybody? We are live in Louisville. Medina Spirit, you saw right there. Medina Spirit wins. For Bob Baffert, wins the Kentucky Derby. What's up, everybody? How you guys feeling after Kentucky Derby 147?
It's fun. It was fun to be back at the track at a full kind of capacity. It felt like a full capacity anyway. It was great. I feel great about everything. And listen, it was a hell of a race and a hell of a day of racing. You right?
Oh, dude. I mean, we were obviously there, and it did feel like, it wasn't full, but it had the same feels. I mean, people were, when they came out, when they walked the horses over, it was, you kind of got the feeling that you used to get. And the crowd, of course, erupts when they sing the national anthem and, call the post and all that stuff. And so it really felt like being back at the track and, everyone was pumped, and we saw some great racing today.
We did. My goodness. The Derby, I'm sure we'll get all into that. The Old Forester turf. Holy shit. That was a great race. Baffert with a turf monster. What? That was huge. Jackie's Warrior runs a big race today. Yeah, all around is fantastic.
So we got boy Ricky, Ryan, and Vinny on with us. What's up, boys?
It's definitely worth coming on this late to talk about what we saw, right? You got four people on the East Coast, Ryan on the West Coast, but it was completely worth just staying in all day, right, and watching the action start to finish. One of the biggest things that we kind of look for when we plan this out from January 1st on is what are we going to see on the first Saturday in May? We saw a pretty magical ride that we're going to get into. And then we saw the turf race, right? You guys talked about on Blinkers Off. I know the Magic Mike group talked about it. Aaron and I talked about it. That turf race will probably go down as one of the best turf races in the history of horse racing. And we just can't wait. We can't put it together right now, but in a few years, we'll be talking about this race for a long time. And it's going to go down in the history book. So I'm interested to see what you guys thought of it.
Ryan, what did you think of the day? I mean, I know you've got some hot takes. So, you can get to those when you feel like it. But what do you think of the day overall, watching it out there in California?
You know what? This was one of the best days of racing I've ever seen. Like, seriously, like top to bottom, that was a fun card. No breakdowns, nothing crazy or controversial. And I thought racing showed itself well on the big stage with all the eyes on it. I just want to shout out a few people, though, that literally are my hero today. I got to give a shout out to Kendrick Carmouche. I think they did a great job. You guys probably didn't all see the NBC Sports or NBC broadcast, but man, they did a great job. And he just acquitted himself well. And he's a great ambassador for the sport. And I can't speak highly enough for him. But also one person probably that honestly gets overlooked a lot, but deserves a lot of credit today is Mattress Mac. And here's why. This guy brought in so much money, and we want people like him, whether you hate him and you're like, he's an idiot, he spent it. If you're a bettor, you got better prices on the horses. He's great for the game, and we should support people like Mattress Mac who come in here and bet and spend their money in this thing. So shout out to him. He represents racing from top to bottom. Everything's a Run Happy presented by. So why not be the guy who basically puts 2 whatever amount of millions of dollars in and get a shout out on national TV and become a talking point for it. So shout out. I'm done. Shout out to racing. What a day.
Well, I mean, it is cool because the reason he put all that money on there was because he's trying to kind of cover himself on the promotions he runs at his furniture stores, which of course is promoting racing. If this horse wins the Derby, you get this free or whatever the percentage. And so it's cool, because he's getting all these people to watch horse racing who are coming in to buy furniture or buy mattresses. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I think whether you thought it was stupid or awesome or whatever, I think it was a cool thing, and it got a lot of people talking like, this dude's putting $2 million on this horse. Like, that's crazy. Vinny, what'd you think?
Yeah, it was a fun day. Every race when they turned for home was a little bit suspenseful. I think besides a couple of the undercard races, even Gamine. I mean, there was a moment in the stretch where you thought Sconson was going to run right by Gamine. It was a fun day. It was a very fun day of racing.
I mean, dude, I think everyone in the world had Gamine, but it's like there was a second where you're like, you kind of said, uh-oh.
Yeah, I thought she might get beat.
But
yeah,
she definitely didn't bring her A game today, but she just won on class. I mean, she's just she's just unbelievable. But she just at first all day it felt like our horse. Yesterday was kind of a struggle. We felt like we never. Yesterday was one of those days where you just like you felt like the race was halfway done. You're like, well, that's not happening. You know, it's just like you couldn't even get into it. But today, all our horses were running. Maybe we didn't hit every single bet, but you felt like every single time they turned for home, you had a shot. Yep. And of course, we hit some stuff too that really made the day huge. So it made for a fun day of racing on top of obviously the big performances we saw. So let's just get right into it. So obviously the Derby, we'll just get right in the Derby and we can talk on, undercard stuff if you guys want to. But I mean, no really surprise. I mean, okay, so let's start it off with Medina Spirit goes to the front. No big surprise. What was the surprise was Rock Your World got rocked, didn't break well, got shuffled back, and really never was in the race again. So Medina Spirit's on the lead. So, no one's surprised really that he was on the lead, but everyone kind of thought he might have a little more pressure than he did, and he just kind of cruised along there. And Johnny just gave him a ride, and it never. I mean, they never moved really from the time they hit the top of the stretch. Those top four really stayed in the same order. Yeah,
a couple of key factors happened. Number one, Medina Spirit does get the perfect trip there as far as what he needed to do and what he wanted to do. That was huge. And like I said, with Rock Your World was the other key thing. A really big key, essential quality. You knew he was going to get a wide trip from the 14 hole. He absolutely got it. He was just too wide the whole race, and he just couldn't make up the ground. He was out of gas in that whole stretch. He fought, he tried, but he couldn't get the job done. I think watching the replay back now that we have 5-6 times, how does Mandaloun not win this race? I am just baffled how that horse is even. It looks like he's going to go right by. It looks like he may have. I mean, it's probably optical illusion, but he looked like he was in front at one point. I don't know how he didn't win the race. I mean, he jumped up and ran a huge race. The whole stretch, I thought Mandaloun was going to win the Derby.
Well, really, the whole stretch you thought was Mandaloun. He's like, well, here comes Hot Rod, and then like, oh, well, Essential's he's just gonna grind him down. Just kept feeling that, but yet none of those horses
they wouldn't pass.
Ricky, like watching on TV on NBC, did it have that same impression to you? Like, do you think that these horses are about to, or Medina Spirit's about to get swallowed up here?
Aaron and I talk about pace pressure all the time, and just because you're going, for example, like 23-2. And you might be comfortable. There's a difference when you're comfortable and you might be going a little slower with horses right to your outside. And that's why I looked at Medina Spirit and I was like, he's going to get run down. You forget about the fractions. Sometimes that's not entirely relevant. The biggest point, I guess you guys touched on a lot of different sectors, right? So I'll break one sector down and it's Rock Your World. I'll let everyone else get into whatever they want to. I was very hesitant on using him because of the rider switch. I don't know if that made a difference or not, but just from the start, I never got the impression Joel Rosario was sending him to the front. Now, we didn't get that. We didn't get to see that materialize. If you're Joel Rosario, who clearly likes to come from behind, that's where he's most comfortable, that's not good enough. I didn't see. I am not blaming him. He probably wouldn't have mattered who was riding him. That's pretty disappointing. That's for a horse that a lot of people, myself included, I think Ryan included, put him on top. That was one of the worst Kentucky Derby rides on a legitimate contender that I've ever seen. Now, granted, he was pinched. I saw no effort to get him into a prime position, and he finished 17th because there were 19 horses. Mm-hmm. That was my biggest takeaway, and a lot of people told me, well, Rock Your World isn't any good. How about the fact he didn't even get a chance. I think it was one of the worst rides I've ever seen from Joel Rosario, and it would probably go down. If you asked him, I don't know if this came out, if you asked him, I'm pretty sure he would tell you he never gave his horse a chance to win. That was my biggest takeaway. So yes, all the credit to Medina Spirit. Ran a great race. Bob Baffert is pretty much on an island alone, I think, with his 7th, and Johnny Velasquez is still a top 5 rider. He kind of reminded us, but if you put your money, any significant money, on Rock Your World and you needed a multi-race wager or a win bet or something, and that's the performance you got, I have to look at the jockey. And Joel's one of the best in the game, but that was one of the worst rides I've ever seen. So that's kind of where I am. And I would love to have Rock Your World back in another spot because I do think he's extremely talented.
Let's kick it to Ryan too, because you mentioned him and he picked Rock Your World. So Ryan, I want to get your Rock Your World thoughts because everybody knows you were pretty high on him.
Well, first of all, I'm going to take nothing away from Medina Spirit. He won, and one thing I like about a horse like this, like Jared, if I'm correct in saying this, you've become a fan of the horse that like come out there and catch me if you can, speed right. He's not that type, from my opinion. He's another type, which I think if you're a fan of the game, you love too, which is like, I'm not letting you pass. You're going to have to kill me. If you give me the lead, I might not be as good as you, but I will die before I let you. And he did that today is what I kind of saw with what happened with Mandaloon there. So credit to him. I picked Rock Your World partly because I gave Medina so much credit. I actually thought he was a great horse in the sense of that he might not have the price tag on it, but he showed when he was so close to life is good that he's not a joke. And he kept showing because California had such strong horses over there that like what he did with Hot Rod Charlie and Roman Centurion, whatever you think of him, but he still showed it. So it's so frustrating when you kind of feel like, wow, if he could do that to Medina Spirit, I think I have the horse who can win in the Derby. And it's hard to really just blame a bad trip when a horse ran as well as Medina did today. But if I have any solace in it, I do think, when I watched the race, it's on tape from my wife filming it. I said, we're done. The minute that broke, I just knew there's nothing you can really do because he had to run this sort of a race where he got to the front or near it when you're far back. And plus, from what I saw, it's like, looked like Joel was like whipping him or trying to get him to go a little bit early from what I saw when I saw it on TV and HD. After that, I just was sick. Didn't want to look at it too much. His trip, I looked at the other horses' trips. Look, the best horse won under these circumstances. What I can say is this. I don't even know what you do with Rock Your World going forward. Sadler's kind of a conservative trainer. I don't know if he'll bring him back. And if he does he just leave him on the turf? So I don't even know if I'll ever get to look like, hey, I'm not completely stupid. I mean, he beat the horse who won the Derby. Give me a chance. And I don't know if he comes out of this okay because the Derby is a rodeo show and he did take a pretty rough, ride around the track. What I'd like to know from you guys is moving forward for the rest of the year, if you could have one horse out of this Kentucky Derby for the rest of the year, not the Triple Crown, who would you want?
Boy.
Because I tell you who I think has a strong case, if you guys want to hear my take. I think Essential Quality does have a strong case based on one thing. He ran a good race in defeat. That's not, like Aaron said, you can't go wide. You can't do this. But it's not like, I don't think any of these horses were so astronomically good where they could have gotten his trip too and overcame it. You know what I mean? I think he's just he's what he is. So if he gets a little bit better of a trip, maybe he's in there more. I don't know if he wins. I don't know. But I give him that. And yes, you guys all did get to see me talk about helium. And thank goodness Aaron put me in my place and gave me the smackdown because boy, oh boy, was that a bad call. So
he ran. I actually think Helium ran well considering he came off a layoff and came from Tampa.
Yeah.
I honestly am hoping they wheel him back into the Belmont. I hope they skip the Preakness and go to the Belmont with him because his trip in the Derby was kind of similar to what Destin did. And Destin ran okay in the Derby, and he came back and he nearly upset the Belmont.
Yep.
Like his trip was not. He was much closer than I think. He was much closer early than I think everybody thought he was going to be. He put himself right there, and he tired. First race off a layoff, going 1.25 miles, chasing the horse that went gate the wire. Yep. No shame in that. I think I don't know how good he would be going forward, but I'm interested in him next time out, no matter where the spot is.
Well, I want to give a quick shout out to Aaron Halterman for, I don't know how he did this. He said keep an eye on Keep Me in Mind. I was like, dude, I'm done with this horse. And I saw, and every step, you're watching those front four, right, Jared, and you guys are there, and you kind of see a wall of horses, a wall of four that you kind of know at the top of the stretch, and then you watch the replay again, and you're going through the charts, and you're like, maybe Keep Me in Mind isn't as bad as I thought, because for a long time, right, we thought Keep Me in Mind was like a decent horse, and then he came back this year, and he was, my goodness, he couldn't beat a standing tree. And after that initial four, like he was dreadful. He was completely dreadful. And you kind of look back and you're like, how did this horse beat? And I'm looking at the chart now. How did he beat Known Agenda? How did he beat Highly Motivated? How did he beat Rock Your World? Like, maybe this horse isn't as bad. And what I'm saying is, this is a horse that I think can actually have some upside, and on his best day, maybe he can compete. So to Ryan's point, if he were to get into like a Jim Dandy where it's like a lower, I'm not saying the distance, don't think about distance, just like a lower group, I'm not so sure I wouldn't take him, because I look at a race that might be longer. Like, for example, I was watching the Trails End today at Oaklawn. This horse looks like he wants to run in something like that. Like, seriously, like this horse he doesn't even realize that he's supposed to run until they've already run 3/4 of a mile.
I've never going around the turn.
Right, that's what I'm saying, right? So he passed like tired horses, but like, what if he's running 1.5 miles? I'm not saying he should be in the Belmont, but like, can he get third or fourth in a race like that? I don't think it's impossible. So for a long shot, I wouldn't mind. No, he didn't get that from. I just want to bring this comment up. He didn't get it from John White, because he said this before he talked to John White. Aaron, remember we talked about it. We did our draft, and I remember you saying, "I'll take Keep Me in Mind." I was like, "That's a free pick for me." Who
won the draft? Who met Medina?
Aaron did.
I didn't. He traded me, Medina.
Oh man, he traded. Ouch.
To Ryan's question, Mandaloon is who I want moving forward, and here's why. He showed today that he is a really good horse, like we thought, and now you've got a horse. He looks really, really good. Here we can draw a line through whatever the hell happened at Louisiana. He's the one I want moving forward. And I think if Medina Spirit faces any kind of pressure or stubs his toe at all, Mandaloon is the Derby winner. I thought he was the best horse in the race today, other than the winner. After looking at it several times, Mandaloon ran a fantastic race, and he looks like he's got a lot of ability.
It's funny, before the Louisiana Derby, I remember on the live stream, I think it was on the live stream, you were doing picks, and I was like, I'm picking Mandaloon. I was like, I think he might be the best Brad Cox 3-year-old, and y'all are like, what the, you're crazy. And then he runs out like, well, I was wrong. Okay. But maybe he turns out to, like the later half of this year, maybe he turns out to be a pretty good, that'd be the best 3-year-old for Brad Cox. He looked good. Like, and he's kind of lightly raced. He's got great. I think
we
all at the top, at least I did, at the top of the stretch, you're like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's going to win.
It's like everyone kind of wanted to pick him. You're like, well, you can see how you can make excuses.
Yeah.
And if he runs well in Louisiana Derby, he's like a top 2 or 3 choice in the race.
Yeah.
And then he looks like he's gonna win.
He did. Yeah. I want him going forward. The Essential Quality thing. Man, he ran a pretty darn good race today. I don't want to take anything away from him for the trip that he had. And we've talked about this so many times, right, guys? These horses aren't good enough to overcome bad trips. And so he kind of did what he could do with what he was dealt. I wouldn't mind having him going forward, but Mandaloon's the one I like best out of this race.
Well, real quick, Jared, I'm not pushing back on the Mandaloon. Like, I'm not pushing back on Mandaloon at all. I thought he ran a good race, but we're looking at what? Well, I don't know what the official chart was, like a length between him and Essential Quality. Quality, I don't know how many extra feet he ran. I don't have a Trackers report.
I have it.
I'm sure it's a lot.
I actually have that.
Yeah, Vinny, do you mind?
Go ahead.
Telling us
give me
what it is?
1 second. Yep. So for the top 4, Mandaloon ran 16 more feet than Medina Spirit. Hot Rod Charlie ran 23 more feet than Medina Spirit. Essential Quality ran 68 more feet than Medina Spirit.
Okay, so that furthers my point.
Well, hey, Ricky, after that, I'll agree with you.
Yeah, so I mean, forget about the Trackus report, the Trackus that information that Vinny just gave us, which is great. I'm happy he did. We didn't really. That kind of just gives you factual evidence. If you watch that race, there is no way that anyone can make the case that Essential Quality is not the most talented horse in that race. For him to run a legitimate, like that's. Jared, I'm not disagreeing, but it's like when we look at the Brad Cox horses, I don't even think it's close, even though one finished second and one finished fourth. Like I think he's a legitimate 5 lengths better than him. If they're getting
I agreed that he was the best Cox horse in the race today by far. I'm just saying from a second half of the year, it seems like perhaps maybe Mandaloon like kind of starts to pick it up, whereas Essential Quality, you never know how that tough early campaign and fades. I want to ask about the Rock Your World. I don't want to beat that too much, but it's like we watched that a lot in the press room. We were watching it after the race. Of course, it's like on as Ryan's well familiar with, they play the race on a
over and over and over. Get up, 8. Get up, 8.
We won so many times with that 8 after the race, and we watched it every single time, and it just. I mean, yeah, there's no way around it. It was not a good situation for him out of the gate. But a couple horses didn't run well out of the gate. Even Essential Quality's won, and they still try. I mean, Midnight Bourbon didn't get a great start, and he ran on. He tried. Like Rock Your World didn't start great, but he was just done. Like it was a pathetic performance, even after the break. And it's just like maybe the Santini Derby was kind of fluky. Like, is he like he just has to get on the lead and then no one could catch him? Like, it seems like if he was a good horse, he would have at least ran on, unless there was some issue with today.
Go
ahead, Vinny.
I have the replay up on mute on my other screen, and it looks like he had the bad start, and Rosario tried to go like 8 wide with him before, like to try to get over more before that first turn. And he ended up getting caught about 5 or 6 wide into that first turn and realized he lost so much ground, and then he ducked in, and that was it. I think Rosario, it looked like he didn't have his mind made up if he wanted to just keep gunning it towards the lead or if he needed to save the ground by the time he hit that first turn. Because at one point before the first turn, he is about a length or so behind where Essential Quality is, and looks like he tried to follow that move, and then they hit the turn and he pulls him in, and that was it. Where Essential Quality was able to sit 4 wide on the turn, he wasn't able to.
The sports analogy I give Rock Your World is, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Well, unfortunately, Rock Your World got punched in the face before the race started. Now, granted, maybe he was never going to recover. We always talk about jockeys, like sometimes you just kind of take the race, and then if it doesn't break your way early on, you formulate a plan as it goes along. Maybe he was never going to get it done, but whatever Joel Rosario did, it seemed like everything was wrong. He beat 2 horses, dude. Like, if he was on this live stream, I would literally say, dude, that was the worst ride I've ever seen. Like, when Aaron and I talk about it all the time, like,
that's great because we have Joel Rosario coming.
I would tell him, I would have a one-on-one with him and ask him what he was doing. You can't, like, how could you, like, no joke, how could you be 9-2 and beat 2 horses? Like, that's not acceptable. And I know we talked about it all the time, right? Where it's like, it's easy to play devil's advocate, and you can go back to the chart and say, well, he broke poorly, and John Sadler made the wrong decision. Aaron, I told Aaron this on when we did a live stream. I said, John Sadler is going to look like the biggest hero and the smartest man in the world, or he's going to be wearing yoke on his face. This is what happens when you make and it could have been a different situation, right, with previous rider, and Rispoli does, and it's similar, right? And we're not having the conversation, but you can't beat 2 horses. You can't. That is literally the most unacceptable ride I've ever seen. And if I own this horse, I'm looking at Sadler and Rosario and saying, how did we let this happen?
Yeah.
Like at least Bourbonic, if you watch Kendrick Carmouche and Ryan talked about it, Kendrick Carmouche starts from the 20 and says the other 18 or from the 19 post, you other 18 can go. I'll just tuck right down to the rail. Bourbonic finished better. Bourbonic shouldn't even have been in the race. I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean to like keep going on about Joel Rosario, but that could have been the worst Kentucky Derby ride on a contender I've ever seen.
Honestly, I think it's good commentary though. Honestly, Ricky, I don't necessarily disagree. I do agree with Jared to some extent. It's like if the horse was going to fire today, you'd think you would have seen a little bit of something at some point. Like I said, he finished 17th. You think maybe he finishes 11th, and we go, well, at least he passed a few. Like it was just awful. And listen, I think you said it best. The plan, you always have a good plan until you get punched in the face. And it's like, oh, this brilliant thing, turf, and now we're going to have one dirt race and then go to the Kentucky Derby. It may have worked for the Santa Anita Derby case, but in this case, It was a disaster today. Total disaster.
Can I just say a few things too? Totally unrelated almost to this. One thing is, I think that this year the draw was more important than ever, because one thing I learned coming out of this was you couldn't spot this field. No one had the talent to spot this field that much. So, do you know what I mean? If you switch some of these around, like say Medina got the 15 and he has to gun it, maybe he doesn't get there. Maybe I'm just saying, if you ran this race and configured it differently, I don't promise you get the same result. Like if you put Justify in the 20 or the 1, you actually might get this result for American. Go ahead,
hey, Ryan, real quick, just to confirm your point, kind of look at 7, 8, and 9. Those were your 1 or your 8, 7, 9 is how it came in. So the perfect post positions got there. Go ahead.
No, it's confirmed. I think Ricky's making some great points about the rides. I can't argue if that's one way to definitely look at it. Another thing that we have to take in mind is something Jared said, which is, so now we're tossing out the Apollo curse. And as a historian, and I said, well, I'm going with Rock Your World, who beat Medina Spirit. But there is a reason that if you didn't start at 2, this can happen to you here. It's a foundation, right? Mm-hmm. And we can't discount. You have to be so special. And one thing that affected Rock Your World, I think, too, it's not even that he didn't start at 2. It's that he started at 3 2 times on the turf in a thing, So not only when he gets a bad start in a perhaps a bad ride, then you're getting kickback. Then you're getting a rodeo of 20. It's like there's just so much more you have to be a super horse to do it in this era is what we're seeing most likely. And maybe that'll change again. Well, maybe that will change.
Good point. That's a good point, Ryan, because that he experienced kickback for the first time. Yeah. He didn't have that at Santa Anita Derby, so he no better way to throw you in the fire than just like go. Let's get kickback in the Kentucky Derby. The very back of the pack. He just and maybe he just hated that. He's like, no, fuck this.
Yeah,
take me back to Santa Anita. So
there's one thing I want to add. Go ahead.
No, there's one thing I want to add. We myself, Aaron, Jared, Mike Somich, and Magic was in the background. We did the live post draw, right? And the first thing I said, we're announcing, I forgot who the first horse was, whoever it was, it's irrelevant. And I said, why don't we have the draw where wherever you finish, you pick your post position. Mm-hmm. And Aaron, and the only reason I bring that up, and Aaron was like, well, that's not how we do it here. We're just going to pick randomly. And I said, that's admirable. But then I remember Jared saying, well, there's a reason that we kind of have this campaign, right? Like Essential Quality should pick where he gets to go. How different would this race have been, to Ryan's point, where Rock Your World is sitting 8 or Rock Your World sitting 9, whatever they pick, or 7, whatever they felt. This is a completely different result. Like, I know that's not the way it went, and that's revisionist history, but I still have a strong belief that if Rock Your World gets that Medina Spirit post or Amanda Loon post or Hot Rod Charlie post, I still think Rock Your World is getting to the winner circle. I still believe that this ride or this race to me does not take anything away. Like, I listened to Ryan Stillman go on and on about this horse, and I was ready to ride the horse. Like, that's how passionate he was. And I was like, everything he's saying makes sense. Now, granted, it didn't work out that way, and that going in, but today really cemented to me that my theory, which I'm not the only one on, I heard that multiple times before. I would love to see that transition, and the historians would not be okay with it. I'm sick and tired of horses getting trips like this or rides like this or whatever when I think they're more talented. And this is, we can go through multiple examples of it. It's really, really frustrating. And yes, a better knows that going in, but it doesn't take anything away from Medina Spirit, but Rock Your World had zero chance from that place.
Put Vicky's comment up there, Jared, if you would. Vicky chimes into the comment, knowing Medina Spirit hasn't allowed horses to pass him, isn't it surprising no one really sent? Yes, but another thing is 2 of the main speed horses, Midnight Bourbon and Rock Your World, didn't get out of the gate and didn't get position. So he kind of got lucky. You know, I mean, okay, here's 2 main speeds.
And like we talked about earlier, like Hot Rod doesn't have possess that kind of speed to run with that horse.
Yeah, his numbers on time form were just a little below Medina Spirit, so that I wasn't really shocked that really Soup and Sandwich was the only one, once those other 2 didn't break, that could kind of go with him, and he kind of got lucky in a way there that some of the speed didn't break, and Soup and Sandwich. I mean, that's
he got rough. He was sitting good. He got checked by Mandaloon when Mandaloon moved out, and then he quit. He just quit.
He did quit.
But I mean, he eased. I actually didn't even think he finished, but he eased him across the wire. But I mean, he went from second to last in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other thing is with the speed. On your point with the speed, Vicky, that like nobody pressed him. Once he made the lead, if the instructions were to stalk, nobody's going to jeopardize a second place finish in the Kentucky Derby. They're like paycheck. They're just going to hope that they'll hope Medina Spirit comes back to them and they'll make a run. And if it's good enough, okay. But nobody's going to, in a race like this, you're not going to see like, oh, the other speed didn't go. Let me go and compromise my plan just so this horse doesn't win.
Yeah,
you don't see that much anymore.
The other point,
totally agree.
I think Randy Moss made this point, and it's not Kentucky Derby. I think it's really anything. When you talk about it, if for example, Medina Spirit is 6-5, someone is going to press that horse because they're not just going to let that horse get away. But when you look at the odds and the other riders are like, we can let this horse go and we'll just
like cheap speed kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and whether a rider thought it was cheap speed or not, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. But that was a fair point. I really agreed. I usually try to listen without sound, but I listened to sound. And that was one heck of a point, right? Because if that's, for example, if that's Rock Your World, no one is letting that horse just sit there. It's just not happening.
Yep.
But because it was Medina Spirit, I don't know how many riders we can look back at it. We could say a Florent Giroux, Flavien Prat. Saez really didn't have a choice. I mean, Saez was 4 wide. There wasn't anything Saez could really do. But the other 2, they probably said, fine, we'll let him have it, and we'll just move this along. We'll simulate the race. And at the top of the stretch, if we're good enough, we're good enough. So I think that was a really fair point because when you have a horse that's those odds, you just kind of think they're going to wilter in the stretch. And that's probably what happened. And it didn't. But that's what they probably thought.
Hey Ryan, I need your professional assistance, okay, for a second, because let me tell you, okay, so we got hot at the track. I mean, we killed it at the end of this day. We were hitting everything. We made a ton of money in the guide.
Yep.
We hit the pick 4 that went into the Derby. We had Medina in our tickets. A lot of good things, and like I was like bummed after the race. Like, as a historian, Baffert's won, 7, right? 7 Derbies. If it was the exact same feeling I had at the Breeders' Cup. We had a great Breeders' Cup going into the Classic. He goes and wins with Authentic, and you're just like, okay. He does. It's just like, I'm just, Halter's like, why are you so down? I'm like, we hit everything. You're like, I just am sick of this. Like, but what do we do at this point other than just, like, we literally were like in the press room. There's like interviews going on. We were on XM. The guys over here doing this, and it's like this guy was like about to start crying, talking about
me.
Like the guy over to our not this guy. Crying about how great Bob Baffert is, and I'm just like, good Lord. And Halterman literally was like, all right, I'm done. I'm out of here.
No, I left. The guy said, I'm getting emotional thinking about how great he is. And I said, done.
No,
I'm done.
I'm out of here.
I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm done.
It's just getting so fucking old but help me. Like, help me see it in the light, or maybe say, Jared, you're right. Like, I need something.
Well, I think if you hate Bob Baffert, this certainly wasn't a race that would make you happy, him breaking the record. But I will say one of two things that is pretty amazing about this. One is this. When you consider the Kentucky Derby, and let's say you could have a horse to win it, who are you going to send it to? If you could pick one trainer, you'd send it to Bob Baffert, right? If you didn't know it, like, you're just like, hey, who can get me the Derby win? Him. So he gets the most likely horses to win. But yet the only horse he got there was probably the cheapest horse on the planet comparatively that made the Derby field just about when he originally sold for 1,000. So what's really cool about this is it gives hope that for basically the amount of money that most people spend on a Tinder Plus subscription over a year, you could have won the Kentucky Derby this year. That's one. The other part about it is, if you don't like Baffert, Brad Cox, what he did in his very first Derby start is astounding. Think about this, guys. Brad Cox never had a horse in the Kentucky Derby before and finished second and fourth. He had an undefeated Breeders' Cup juvenile champion. This guy, he could be the next big. That's not that bad of a start. You got to remember when Baffert almost won the Derby by a nose with a horse that was a cheap horse back in 1996. He came back and won the next year with Silver Charm. So my point is, Jared, if you're not looking for it and you hate him, maybe Brad Cox is the next big thing because, he did a heck of a training job. Mandaloun, people left him for dead, and he just about won the biggest race on the planet today. And it's such a quality, maybe with a better trip does. So I can't make you happy about Baffert because nothing would, let's be honest. But if you like Brad Cox, guys, what do you guys think about him being the next guy to win a bunch of Kentucky Derbies? He certainly acquitted himself just fine by me today.
Yeah, I thought he definitely, and he's got to be a little sick tonight, knowing that Baffert's eighth best 3-year-old came in here and beat him. I mean, and I think that's what people really, you for sure, Jared, but other people, it's this was his sixth best horse. He got just some trash breeding, or trashly bred horse. And he just won the Derby. And like you said, it's so many people are going for this and they're putting everything they've got into it. And then this guy just shows up with this and wins. I mean, it is crazy. But, it's not like the horse has been bad. First or second in all of his starts, his losses have come to life as good. And then the Rock Your World, whatever you want to call that last time out. It's not like he loses to bad horses, So he's been better than I think what anybody really gave him a lot of credit for. But yeah, it's baffling that he can come in here and win this race with a horse like this.
It is like Bill Belichick, right? If you hate the Patriots when they win a Super Bowl, you're like, I hate him. I hate this franchise. So Jared, unfortunately, I can't give you something good. But to be fair, what he just did is amazing.
It is a lot like that. I mean, the only difference is at least that I know, that Belichick isn't injecting Brady with something, or wasn't, but similar as in that they win all the time and everyone likes to hate them. But no, I mean, you got the thing. The one thing I can say, and we talked about this on the ride here, or on the ride to Louisville a couple of days ago when we were talking about Medina and using him. It's the one thing about Baffert, it's like him, hate him, love him, whatever. Think he's cheating, think he's not, whatever. There is a science to get horses to the Kentucky Derby, you're saying, and he has mastered it. He'll get horses. If you have a horse, give it to him. He'll get them in the Kentucky Derby, and look what he did. I mean, he freaking won the thing with the horse. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess you just gotta bet him, bet him, and just be yep. I mean. It is what it is. I
guess I'm used to it by now because I didn't bother me at all. No, he got another one. That's great.
I hate to say it. There's really no signs, guys, that if you don't like Baffert, I mean, he's gonna win another one. I mean, he gets all the horses. That's the bad news if you hate Baffert, because they're just gonna keep sending him. Who after today is well, that's the last time I send that guy a horse. He's probably gonna get 80 more.
Well, I think there's two. There's 2 points I want to bring up. When we talk about sports, I'll bring it to Baffert first. When we talk about sports, right? It's everyone wants the California is really in a circuit of its own. Mm-hmm. On the East Coast, you have Louisiana, you have Kentucky, you have New York, and you have Florida. Think of what you want about New York, but it still exists. The circuit still exists. If you're on the West Coast, who else are you giving your horse to? So
Right.
he essentially, this is what people don't realize. I'm not saying you guys. This is what people don't think about. If you split the country down the Mississippi River, if the horse has any talent at all, he's going to one guy. As opposed to, oh, I could send him to Asmussen, or I could send him to Pletcher, or I could send him to Chad Brown, or I could send him to pick anyone you want on the East Coast or east of the Louisiana East. That's point one. Point two, it's kind of had that Mahomes Brady effect. Like, you're just gonna have to wait it out. And this is not a shot at the card. You're just gonna have to wait it out, dude. Like, unfortunately, like, this is where we are. And Baffert, we've talked about it all the time. Baffert really knows how to get his horses ready for this race, whether they start as a 2-year-old or whether they start as a 3-year-old, whether they have 2 starts or 3 starts or they have 5 starts. He understands on the first Saturday in May better than anyone. The first Saturday in May, I need to have this horse ready. But to Ryan's point, he's getting Pletcher, I think, has the most actual horses in the Derby. But how many does he get a chance to even look at his yearling saying, I can't do anything with this. I'll take this one. It's pretty easy when you're the number 1 guy in California, and that's the biggest circuit, and there's really no one else to compete with. So I'd be willing to say if you put Pletcher in that situation, he probably would be doing the same thing. So I think it's time and place and location in this situation.
I mean,
can I make a point too?
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
So I mean, like, I feel like everybody's bummed because it was Medina's Spirit. I mean, if this was like, if Life is Good had gotten there, Life is Good had a massive fan base. You know, we all figured he was the best horse. Like, it was either him or Essential Quality were the top 2. And after his last race, it was like, all right, Life is Good. Like, he's the goods.
Yeah.
Then it was Concert Tour. I mean, the world was on Concert Tour. Like, everybody was ready to ride him into the Derby winner's circle. And then he loses. So then it's Medina Spirit. And it's like, okay, well, he's probably not as good as these two. I can beat it. Like, this is not the Baffert that should win the Derby. So I feel like that's the other reason people are bummed. It's like, well, Baffert had these 2 monsters, and he was supposed to have triple tap in the race after the Derby today that many people are saying is the best 3-year-old in training. So it's like, here you have 3 Baffert horses that people are absolutely in love with. And it's kind of like when Mucho Gusto won the Pegasus or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it was like his 5th horse, and it's like he wins, and it's just like, really, like, that's the horse that beats me out of his barn. And like, I feel like that's why people are upset. Not so much that I know there's people who just hate Bob Baffert, but like, especially just like as a handicapper, it's like, well, he had 2 horses that were like a must use if they make it into the Derby, and then you have this one that is like on the fence, and you're like, oh, really? He goes gate to wire on me, where the other 2 are, like, I mean, like,
that's like the exact reaction I think most people had.
You know, like, you sub in like, if Concert Tour does that, like, the work, like, everyone's like, oh yeah, we knew, like, Life is Good, like, oh yeah, he's been the good since the beginning, and Medina Spirit doesn't. It's like, oh, like, Baffert's blocker just won the Derby. Like, I don't know. Like, to be completely honest with you, I would be surprised. Like, I would not be surprised if he never wins another Grade 1. Flat out.
No, the other it's a fair point, right?
Totally
Because
agree. That was great, a great insight, Vinny. Like, I think that's spot on.
Yeah.
Well, how about, like, we make the point? I told Aaron when we were doing one of the Rocket Hours, and we were talking about Pletcher, and maybe it was the Florida Derby, whatever it was, and I was like, I'm not giving like Todd Pletcher credit for getting 4 horses there when he had 30 of them. Like, I'm not going to do that. And that's why I'm not giving, like, to Vinny's point, right? If it's Concert Tour or if it's Life is Good, then I think a lot of people would say, all right, well, he had the best horse and he did well. Like, Pletcher had 4 horses. None of them, like, really had a chance. But he's going to go down, and it's going to be in the record books that he had 4 Kentucky Derby entrants.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you, like, you guys know better than me when you're doing the fantasy league, what does he have, like 32-year-olds that like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, great. So we went 4 for 30. I mean, it's the same thing, right? And none of those runners ran well. Like, you had Known Agenda, you had Sainthood, you had Bourbonic, and you had Dynamic One. I mean, like, do you get credit for that? I don't know. Like, do you get credit for going to the Super Bowl 8 times and losing? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, am I giving Todd Pletcher credit here? like it's kind of the same thing, right? So to Vinny's point, I agree. Like, because it was Medina Spirit and it wasn't one of the horses that people were touting all year, I think that's probably why. Like, it would have been a cooler story if a Brad Cox was able to do it, or someone who hasn't won, or an Asmussen. But at the fact that it's Baffert with a horse that no one would have ever given a chance to for that purchase price got there. I think that's a good point.
I think that's what, like Vinny was saying, like from the handicappers in us, it's like, if his life is good, you're like, golly, I mean, he's a beast. Like gate to wire if he wants to, or even Conster if he wins the Arkansas, you're like, yeah. But like you said it perfect. Like, then you get Medina, you're like, well, we can beat Medina on the front end, and so you when that happens the way it happened, and I don't get me wrong, I bet it play, like I know Samich, so shout out to Samich, who hit the superfecta for $18,000, $2 super with Keen Medina on top, because he thought he was gonna be a lone speed, and he was. And there's credit to that, but I think from the handicapping side, it's like, gosh, I mean, what do I have to do? Because you basically just, in Halterman, you know this better than anybody because you handicap every single track, every single day, that you just have to weigh in the factors that maybe you have to weigh in.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, most tracks, that's where you start. Who's got the good stuff, right? I mean, and that's just the fact of racing, and there's no way around it, and I'm not going to lie about it. So that's a big part of it. And it's to be very, very clear on this show right now to everybody listening, and thanks for tuning in. There was one reason why Medina Spirit was on my ticket. One, and it's Bob Baffert. That I don't think any other trainer I would have used that horse. But you know what? I don't think any other trainer would have gotten that horse to the Kentucky Derby. I mean, I've watched enough horse races to know this is not an elite horse that just won the Kentucky Derby. This is an average horse.
Right. No, you're right. And
then let me ask, are you excited about the Preakness, guys? Because if you guys are like this, like, what do you do going forward? Like, are you just waiting to see who, is he just like, I'm betting Concert Tour if he shows up?
Ryan, I'm excited for the first race at Belmont tomorrow, let alone the Preakness. So, but yeah, I
just meant betting opportunity wise, because like the general public will.
I think I will probably. Well, I can't say because we're gonna have to see what the pace looks like. We're gonna see who enters. Yeah. That's a lot of but if say there's some decent pace in there and there's a 2 or 3 nice horses, I'll try to beat him in the Preakness. Absolutely. Because he's been beat several times in lower races than what he's going to be in, in 2 weeks. So,
well, it'll be interesting to see because obviously Concert Tour has been pointing to the Preakness. He works tomorrow. We'll see what.
will he put Concert Tour in there? Yeah. Another thing, Ryan and we talked about this all through the Triple Crown or the Kentucky Derby trail, the prep trail. Bob never left California with Medina Spirit, and it was kind of like, yeah, they don't think he's going to ship real well. He's not a big horse. We'll just keep him at home. Now he's going to run back in 2 weeks. Like it doesn't bode well, right? That he's going to run that well.
No, I would say that's definitely a concern. I think going forward, that's what's going to be interesting to see, though, right? Like, because to me, the Preakness of these 3 races, the Derby is by far the hardest to win. Preakness is the fairest race, though. 14 horses, shorter distance. There's really, you don't come out of the Preakness very often with like we got wiped out at the start. We should know a lot. And if it falls apart, this could be one of those years where like, you're like, what kind of super was that? Medina's not in it even. Because what if he doesn't ship well? Or it could be one where you're like, well, of course Medina won it. Of course, he's going for the Triple Crown. They got Concert Tour out of there. I mean, I just wanted your guys' thoughts, but it sounds like you're both like, we're just gonna have to wait and see who even shows up. So
yeah. Well, I think right. If I guess we can get into this conversation, there should be more speed in there. If we look at some of the, I'm looking at, for example, I'm not going to say what website I'm looking at because I'm not trying to give anything away. But like, what if Caddo River shows up there? Like all of a sudden, like to Aaron's point, excuse me, like. It's really tough to say if we would use Medina Spirit, but I would, at this point, if you said, is there going to be more or less pace? I'm pretty sure everyone would say there's going to be more speed entered into that race because this pretty much had 0.
Well, so just real quick, to your point about that maybe they left him alone because he was 12-1. Well, he's not going to be this time, right? He's going to have a target on his back.
Well, and that's the thing about horse racing, right? Where, or from a handicapper's perspective, you might like someone at X price, but you might not like them at Y price.
Mm-hmm.
Because and that's all about it, right? Like to Ryan's question, what do you think of what are we doing with the Preakness moving forward? If he's going to be 5-2, I want nothing to do with him. 0. I don't really care who's in the race, because you have to look at this horse at this point. We'll call him an elite 3-year-old for this crop.
Yeah.
I don't want we don't look at any of these horses and say they're 5-2 favorites. We thought that of essential quality, and he couldn't get it done. So if we thought of that of essential quality before, why would we want that of Medina Spirit, who just got romped in the Santa Anita Derby? Like, it's all about the price. So yeah, we might like him because there's not a lot of speed. Would any of us take him at 5-2? I highly doubt it. I really, really do. So there's going to be more pace, and he's going to be a really short price. So, or not really short, but he's probably going to be a favorite. So
yep,
I think a lot of people are going to want to play against him, like a lot. So it'll be interesting to see. There has to be more pace. There has to be. Just had 0. And one of the pace horses in my book got the worst ride of all time. So I mean, it was dreadful. It was just completely dreadful.
I'd be curious if they wheel him back.
Well, look at I'm just looking.
Yeah.
Look at the payouts here. The 50-cent try paid $848, which is just insane because I'm kicking myself for not having Mandaloon in my second spot.
One thing I want to add about while you're looking at the payouts, this was incredibly, incredibly hittable. Now,
yep.
Oh yeah,
that's what I think. Horse people that tune in for one day or the weekend will conclude the Oaks as well. Oh, how are these prices X, Y, and Z? I don't get these horses didn't make sense. No, they kind of did, and that's the one thing that if you could walk away from this weekend, if you're someone who follows it, I think that's really important. Because, for example, if a horse, we could pick really anyone. If a horse like Helium hit the Super, and you're like, holy crud, we never would have had Helium. But you could look at this group, these 4 horses, and say they all kind of made sense. And I think that's one takeaway that people who really follow it, like us, can at least leave with some solace and say, you know what, we could have gotten there, and maybe we did, maybe we didn't, but we could have gotten there. I think that's important for us moving forward as people that really follow this sport a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, really, the frustrating thing, for us, I mean, I was there. I got there on the Super. I got there on the Try. I was all over. It's like it's not hard. And Medina, Mandaloon, and Hot Rod, and the favorite. Such a quality, and that Super paid $9,400 for $1. I mean, it's not that wasn't hard to get to. It's just a matter of constructing that ticket. And just from the example is we played 2 tickets in the wagering guide, one for $1, one for 50 cents. In the dollar guide, we went more favorite on top, and so we tried to use Mandaloon and some other bigger prices in second and third spots. In the second ticket, the smaller ticket, we went higher prices in the top spot, and so we didn't feel like we needed to use Mandaloon in that second spot to jack it up and put him in the third spot. It's just stupid. I mean, and that goes both ways. Some people got lucky and hit it the other, and had it. So, it's tough because when you have 19 horses, you can't play them all. And even though you like one or you don't like one, Highly Motivated for me was one that we had to use just because I didn't want that horse to beat me. And there's, everyone's got a horse like that.
He didn't beat you.
He didn't. He didn't beat me. Where'd your horse finish?
I didn't have one in the race.
That's right.
Yeah.
And anyways, but no, Highly Motivated, he ran a pretty good race. You could just tell it hit him. The mile and a quarter was not his thing. Any final thoughts on horses that, maybe worth mentioning as we move forward?
I know they announced already that Hot Rod Charlie will not be going to the Preakness. So just for everyone who's starting to look at that. Which seems kind of surprising, right? That quick. I don't know. I thought that was weird because we've been saying all along, like, he's going to win the Preakness like his dad. Yeah.
And then right as soon as the race is over, they don't. To me, that felt weird.
I didn't get it. No.
But it sounds like that was the plan going into the race, unless he won the race, I guess. So, that seems weird. But they have been they've been spacing his races. So I think Doug O'Neill's afraid, at least he had mentioned prior, that he's afraid that that kind of horse will bounce in his next start if he doesn't give him time. So We'll see. Yeah, let's talk a little bit Vicky says Jackie's Warrior. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that race was.
Yeah, my horse won, Jared.
Yeah, just a couple races earlier. He may have still be highly motivated. No, he was awesome, right? That was a hell of a race.
Oh, that was fantastic. Yeah, fantastic race. He just laid it down. He said, "Come get me." You know, they couldn't. Dream Shake. I thought Dream Shake had him easy, and Jackie's Warrior just kept fighting. Awesome race.
Yeah, and honestly, the Baffert horse surprisingly didn't win this one. And of course, when we bet him, Defunded ran huge. I thought so weird. Like he was weird. Like we were talking. Irad rode him like he was like he knew he was the winner the whole way. I mean, he just kind of weaved in and out. He was like, oh my gosh, he's just gonna go right by this field. And obviously, it was too much. But he seems like one that a better trip next time. Maybe that horse has a shot. But Jackie's Warrior, that was that awesome to watch on TV.
Oh yeah, that was unreal. That was unreal. Just they showing the fractions and you're looking and like they're not really getting near him. And it was like, yeah, like he's gonna stop, right? He's gonna stop, and then you get to the top of the stretch, and like, oh no, he's not stopping. Like, I think 107 for the 3/4. It was like, oh wow.
Let's talk about this race from another angle, and I want to bring this full circle because Jackie's Warrior was fantastic. For the longest time in this sport, and you guys know better than me because you're in the fantasy league. You're making claims, you're making drops, picking up horses I've never heard of. Prevalence. I don't know what the shake was, Aaron. What was the shake? Probably like a 5-6 way shake for Prevalence after the debut.
Prevalence was a 9-way shake.
A 9-way shake, right?
Yep.
I don't know how long ago that was. It was probably right after was that on Pegasus Day?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So that was Saturday. So I'm guessing you guys did it on January 27th, right? That Monday, or the 28th, something like that. And isn't it funny, right, that everyone was in on that horse now, and look at where he is. And my point, I want to bring it full circle. Everyone in horse racing, and including myself, I did it today, and I vowed I would never do it, but I did it. It's kind of like everyone wants to get on the next best thing to see if they're going to be the first one to it. We saw it last year I remember we were on live stream, we were watching Authentic in the Haskell, and we were talking about it. We're like, oh, that wasn't good. And he beat Dr. Post. Dr. Post comes back and wins today. Authentic is not so great. All of a sudden, Medina Spirit runs consistent. Maybe he's proven, to Ryan's point, he's proven time and time again. Maybe he's not great, but he's really, really good. It's time for us as horse racing fans to not just jump off a horse when we don't see their best effort. And again, I did it today because I was all over Rock Your World. I was like, this is the best horse forever. I was there. I did it. I admit it. But it kind of seems like I'm learning through you guys with the fantasy league that everyone is willing to drop, not literally, you guys are in a league, but right, it's maybe we just kind of need these horses to develop before we're so quick to make a judgment. Because Prevalence, I remember, like Ryan said, he stuck up 9 figures. Everyone wanted that horse. Everyone wanted that horse. And he can't win a middle of the road. Maybe Jackie's Warrior is really good, but middle of the road 3-year-old race. So I don't know. I think as a horse racing community, we may want to just pause for a little bit on some of these horses when we make decisions, because it seems like it happens a lot where we watch a race, they're great, we're all on them, the race stinks, and now we're off of them again. And it seems like that rotates a lot. So,
well, for the fantasy league though, it's tough because it's like, it's like either you claim like a horse like Prevalence. It's like, okay, well, you either tried to claim him before he started, or you have to claim him after the maiden winner. You're not going to get him, and if he ends up being good, it works out. If not, it doesn't, obviously it does that. But I mean, the 3-year-old schedule is so brutal on some of these horses. And I know like a lot of people get on it that these horses retire, like, oh, well, okay, another 3-year-old's retiring at the end of the year. But the 3-year-old schedule is like the hardest of schedules because like all the races for like 3-year-olds are all like set in stone at a certain point. So like if you want to go 2 turns as a 3-year-old in a stake, like, this is when you're running. Once if they make it to 4, it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'll run in this one this month, and then I'll wait 6 weeks and I'll run in this one. But there's so many stakes races for older horses. I mean, maybe not grade 1s, but there's a lot of stakes races. Like Dr. Post today in the Westchester. Like he easily could have ran yesterday in the Ali Sheba. They decided to start him back in New York. like 3-year-olds don't have that luxury. So it's like they're kind of, and that's why you see horses get better. A part of the reason you see horses get better with age, like Frost did. Frosted did okay as a 3-year-old. As a 4-year-old, he did great because they didn't have to run him once a month. It was like, okay, well, once every 2 months we'll run Frosted. And all of a sudden that schedule works better for them. So, I mean, I think they need to hit the reset button on prevalence because I really think Godolphin got Derby fever with it. He ran that Great Maiden race. He got Derby fever. They tried to get him into the wood. He didn't run good in the wood. And they're like, well, he's still a Derby. He's still a stakes horse. Let's throw him in the Pat Day Mile. And it was like I used him today because if he freaked, he freaked. But, I mean, they did the same. Hidden Scroll was the same way. I mean, Hidden Scroll hasn't been the horse. They tried the horse in so many stakes races, and he just hasn't been the same. That happens when a horse doesn't win, and then he just loses confidence.
I remember Aaron and I did a live stream and we used prevalence. So we wanted to talk about prevalence. So we looked at each other afterwards and said, that horse he was 1 to 9. And we looked at each other. We said, I don't think prevalence is all that good because we said, even
allowance race. Yep.
Yeah. And he won by 3 lanes, but there was no indication that he was even that good on that day. So maybe I'm not going to sit here if I'm the owner of any horse. Yeah, I want to be aggressive. Like if I can get into the Derby like Brooklyn Strong, I would want him there also. It's just you're right. I think the schedule is really tough, and people want to wait as long as they can to debut. You get a shining debut like that, and I don't want to say prevalence is ruined, but all of a sudden you were on such a high, and now what's his next spot? An allowance optional claiming? I seriously, and it's kind of sad. Because this was a horse that everyone wanted to claim at the end of January, and his next race might not be a stakes race. So he's not the only one. That was just an example because it was in this race. But
let's. I just saw Craig Mikowski tweeted out the Timeform US figures for the 7 stakes races today at Churchill. So I wanted to read those real quick. DeJour gets a 111, Gamine a 114. So that is 20 points lower than her high, and she still wins today with the 114. But that's not a great number for her. That kind of confirms what we're saying. I don't think she ran that great. She still won. Flagstaff 115. That's about what he usually runs. Blowout gets a 120. Medina Spirit gets a 122. His previous high was a 118, so he improves 4 points going 1.25 miles today. You take that. That's baffling that this horse improved today. Jackie's Warrior gets a 124. That's a very good time for number. Colonel Liam 124, Domestic Spending 124. So they rated the turf race there, and then Jackie's Warrior has the highest today. So,
well, I mean that it's a great segue because let's go right into that Turf Classic race because I mean obviously those two ran huge. Put up the numbers, it shows it. I mean, holy shit, that was just, it was awesome. I mean, we were right there on the finish line and it just, I mean, you could feel it coming and, Colonel Liam ran awesome and Domestic Spending was bottled up and then finally it seemed like, cause we had a huge exacta in that race on those two and it went from all right, just get the 5, just to get up there, get second, get second, and you're like, oh shit,
win,
you might go win. And I mean, it was just this unbelievable race to be there and see. I mean, it was exhilarating watching that. I mean, it's probably one of the best races we've ever, I have seen in person, no doubt. And just to sit there and the longer that they kept showing the replay over and over, and it was like, man, that might be a dead heat. You couldn't believe it because I mean I don't know the stats on that, but it seems like dead heats in grade 1s is extremely rare company. But man, that was just unbelievable.
Well, I think 2 things. I think Colonel Liam, in a weirdest way, kind of proved that he is legit. And you might say, well, he's won huge races this year. He beat the real turf horses today, the big dogs that we have to offer in this country anyway. It beat, I say he tied. That's one of them, Domestic Spending. But Colonel Liam really proved that he is that top class turf horse. And domestic spending, I think, is getting ready to just have a monster season. I mean, a monster season. He closed a lot of ground really quick. That was
he finally got
on the wrong lead.
On the wrong lead, yeah.
And yeah, we were like, whoa, that was really good.
He was just eating up the grass.
Yeah, he was. That was just a really, really exciting race. Like, and I listen, I said it after, and I'll stick by it. The best race I've seen in person ever was that one, because of the level of the race, the level of the talent, how excited we are going into the race, and then you get that. I mean,
right.
it had
the hype
it
was
had
there.
It all.
We mentioned it in the guide. I think even it's like this might be the race of the day. Forget the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah,
and it lived up to it. Not only did it live up to it, we still don't know who won. They tied, so that's what makes that.
Yeah.
And hopefully we see him again, though. I mean, Ryan, what did you think of the race?
Classic. There's nothing else you could say. Classic race, and that's what racing is about, man. You guys are covering it. That was amazing. What did you guys think?
Vinny?
I thought it was. I mean, that was great. That's what I had keyed. I mean, for me personally, wagering wise, I keyed Colonel Liam with the 1 and the 5 on my wagers. So it ended up being really good because I played it both ways. So I get the exact of multiple times both ways. Yep. So that was great. But yeah, I mean, they were the two that I mean, domestic spending had beaten them last year, and Colonel Liam's been on a roll this year. So it's, I mean, they possibly are the two top dogs in the turf division right now. So that was great. I mean, that's why turf racing's fun. You usually get close finishes like that.
Yeah, and you do, but you always seem like there's always the nostril that gets in front. And this one, yeah, couldn't. I mean, literally wasn't any closer. So
look at this one. I hadn't seen the photo yet.
Oh yeah.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I can say. This game has people that are the wealthiest on the planet, but yet it takes like 20 minutes to get a photo to decide who won a race always. Can't we get the technology where someone just brings out a ruler and goes, oh, well, it's a dead heat? It like seems like 40 people must go, well, I don't know if that's a dead heat. It might be a Miller heat. It's like, when are we going to fix this? It takes forever for the photo to come up.
Well, which is crazy because it's like I feel like the small tracks, it's like you watch like Sam Houston and there's a photo and like they don't even show the replay and they already have the photo posted with an official. It's like these small tracks have it figured out. It's the big tracks that it's like, all right, well, let's look at this 9 different times. Whereas like Sam Houston, it's like they cross the wire and they have the results official before like they haven't even finished announcing the order of finish yet, and they already have an official prices posted.
Yeah,
so it's like,
preach.
Yeah, it's just like it is crazy, but yeah, the NBC feed, the guy like Randy Moss and whoever, I forget who was on with them, because I only watched 2 races on the NBC feed today, and they called the dead heat like right away, which I thought was super impressive. It was like the race finished, and they were just like I think that's a dead heat. And like, oh yeah, it looks like a dead heat. It looks like it could be a dead heat. And I was like, oh, like I thought domestic spending got him.
Yeah, we did too. Watching it live when they, at the track, we were like, "Yep, we just hit that." Well, we hit it, but we hit it anyway. But I was like, "Yeah, the 5 just won." We're rooting for the 5 for the bigger price, obviously, and it was our top pick as well. But yeah, I mean, we both thought domestic spending had it.
I know. It looked like. I think you want to think that just because the way he was coming, but just Colonel Liam. He battled down. What about Whitmore? Whitmore looked like the winner. Like that was a weird like. We were watching that. We were in the press room for that one, and it's just like, here he comes. I mean, that dude hung something fierce, didn't he? It looked like he was gonna go right on by. And he finished third or fourth?
He didn't even get. Yeah, he got third. Yeah,
I was gonna talk about domestic spending.
Okay, what'd you got?
Domestic spending is 3 lengths better than everyone in that field if you give them 2 months. That is my prediction. When they hook up again, because they will do so either at Belmont or Saratoga. This was you know what this was? Patrick Mahomes, you go play week 1, but you're not allowed any off-season camp. You're not allowed any preseason games. You're not allowed to meet your coaches. Just show up week 1. Everyone else, you guys can take your time, warm up, get ready. April, May, meet your coaches, go through film. That's what this was. No off-season, no nothing. Colonel Liam is in the form of his life, and domestic spending just showed up with no races since last year, and literally made it a dead heat. let's see these two run again if they're in form 2-3 months from now. I say it's probably 2-3 length difference. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt that if you want one of those going, I mean, it seems like I mean, he seems like he's about ready to erupt, like Halterman has said.
Yeah. He's the next big turf horse for Brown, no doubt in my mind.
I kind of thought for half a second, I was like, smooth like straight gonna take this field all the way.
Not in California. If he was running against California horses.
He does run really well here at Churchill too. When he shows up here, he usually does run well, and he did here. I mean, my goodness, what did he get beat a length here? I mean, it was close.
Yeah, he ran well.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen the replay of this. So
yeah. That was why I actually keyed Colonel Liam, because I thought domestic spending would probably I think he's going to be better once they go to start going 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles on the turf, and that was why I was like, all right, well. What was it today? 1.125 miles?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm like, this is probably about as far as Colonel Liam's really gonna get. And I didn't think I was like, well, he's gonna just be chasing smooth like straight. If he gets one kick and passes them, he's gonna be there. So that was why I keyed him. But I mean, domestic specs. I know a lot of you, especially in the guide, had domestic spending on top, and I was like, all right, yeah, I agree with it, but I don't. I think the distance is just,
This horse is a monster.
Oh yeah, when they stretch out, I mean, if they go 1 mile when he runs 1.5 miles, he's gonna kill fields. It's gonna be great.
This is the first time Jared and I have actually seen this where we could actually.
Oh, it was impressive. Oh yeah, he looked dead. He moved out and caught Colonel Liam in a blink of an eye.
And he's tucked in, and he's kind of in big traffic. He has to split horses twice.
Yeah, he's really tight between Digital Age.
His own stablemate about knocks him out of the race. He still looks second
on the wrong lead. Still.
Oh my god!
If the wire was an inch shorter or an inch farther, he wins. It was just where the wire comes up there that it was a dead heat.
That's unreal.
Wow. If we talk about horses that I want back, I would not mind Digital Age back in a couple starts as well. I don't think he's as good as
those older ones. It takes them a race for sure. Yeah, he's a little bit older. So
and that's the thing, right? We look at domestic spending, and I think he's clearly the best in this field. I could easily see Digital Age being the second in this group if the same horses were to run back at Saratoga or Belmont in a few months' time. I truly believe that. So obviously having Chad Brown doesn't hurt us, but I like these European horses. The breeding is different. To Vinny's point, they want to go 10, 11, 12 furlongs. This kind of seems for the Pletcher. I don't know what Colonel Liam really does from here. This is it. I don't know if he can get any further, and he's going to run into that issue come down the line because all these horses can run better or run longer. Excuse me.
I wouldn't be shocked that if Colonel Liam stays in form and he makes it and he makes it through the summer, if we see Colonel Liam run in races like the 4-Star Dave or the Woodbine Mile, and he cuts him back to 1 mile. Because I mean, he did run his eyeballs out today, but I think a mile and 1/8 seems to be. I mean, he looked for a bit when they hit the stretch, it looked like okay, he's going to kick away and somebody's going to have to come catch him. I think the last quarter, little part of the 1/8 of a mile there really got to him. So I don't know how much farther Pletcher will try to stretch him out.
Man, that's awesome. That's a hell of a race, guys.
It lives it was amazing being there, watching it, and seeing it again. Yeah. On the replay here just confirms that. I mean, that was just you could watch that race 10 times, 100 times, and it would be good every time. I mean, that is just it's just what you want to show somebody if you want to show them a race.
Oh, this last comment this last comment's hysterical. I can't pull it up.
Yeah, we're totally looking at something totally different. Guys.
Hold on, Manu. Let me. Okay.
Oh,
let's watch this one more time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh.
Judy. We get Judy the Booty back on the show.
Oh,
sometime.
I know. I miss Judy the Booty.
Yeah, that was a great time.
She got a nice booty too.
That was she was a 5-star Dave that time. So, all right,
5-star booty. The
the
triple crown of booties.
Oh, okay, nice. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Final thoughts. We gotta get off here.
Yeah, I gotta go to bed.
We're fading hard. It's
Yeah.
been a long day.
It's been a
A
long
lot
day.
of. Hey, by the way, shout out to Churchill Downs because it was an open bar both days. So
COVID exists down there. I forgot.
no, it doesn't.
It does not.
It does not.
No, it's.
I thought on the signs it said masks optional.
It said mask mandatory, but nobody wore them. Like nobody.
No one. Yeah.
Nobody.
Well, here's the key. Everyone has a drink, so no one's wearing a mask. So
Can't wear a
Yeah,
mask. You can't drink. Yeah. Let me get a final thought so I can go to bed.
okay, he's gonna get ready for bed while you all do your.
Yeah, because Ricky will be a while. So, I'll end it with this. I after yesterday, I thought, why don't we just go home? I'm sick of this, and that's racing. This sport is so volatile. It brings you back, and it knocks you down, and then it brings you back again. It brought us back. It brought me back today. I was pumped, man. Sometimes you handicap 2 cards and you use the same logic and ideas and principles, and one card you couldn't hit shit, and then the next card you're all over it. So thank God we were on the positive side today. So always happy to leave Churchill Downs on Derby Day, with a good day. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good when you leave a track when you got a little more than you came, when you got there. So,
Yep.
We definitely rebounded today, and hopefully everyone that used the guide was able to cash some tickets with us today, especially on the later half of the card when we got really hot. Ricky, what do you got? What's your final? Wrap it up for us.
I'm gonna give forget Churchill Downs. I'm gonna give a shout out to Oaklawn Park for their final day of the meet. They were going simulcast with Fox Sports 1, I believe, or Fox Sports 2. I was introduced to the Trails End for the first time last year. I'm pretty sure some of the horses, too bad Keep Me in Mind didn't feel like running at Oaklawn because he probably would have done well there. No, they had a great meet. Again, Ryan and I talked about this before. Just think about where you were a year ago. If you keep that thought in your mind, you're really going to appreciate this sport and what we have going on. And I even tweeted it out today. I said, if the day is like a perfect example of why this sport is special. These days don't come around often. They come around once in a while, so just enjoy them. Even if you're losing, hopefully a manageable amount. No one's losing rent money, but just enjoy it. If you are like you guys when you were at the track, I hope for my sake, who wasn't there, I hope you guys got to enjoy it for everyone because of the times we're in. So hopefully soon we'll all be back with no restrictions.
Ryan, I'm gonna save you for last because I'm guessing you got something building over there. Vinny, what do you got?
Yeah, no, I mean, seeing all the fans there, it gives me hope that hopefully Saratoga will be some sort of normalcy this year. I miss going to the track. I haven't been to a live race since the Haskell last year, and there was only like 500 people there. So I mean, there was nobody there. So I mean, like I definitely miss being at the track, and I'm hoping that the rest of this like early summer goes smoothly, and that Saratoga can at least be something like 50% when it opens. So
right,
yeah.
Too.
I think the biggest takeaway is if you did have a bad day, there's no way your day was as bad as Mattress Max was.
No one lost that much.
You did lose 2 point whatever million. So whatever your day is,
That was
you could be Mattress Max today.
Did you see them breaking that down on NBC? I mean, you guys didn't see it because you were there. They were breaking it down how much money was actually like him and like Rock Your World probably would have been like either close to the favor or they would have been the same odds if Mattress Mac didn't have that money in the pool.
That's amazing.
I
That's
also
amazing.
One guy.
quick shout out to NBC. Their coverage seems to get better and better every year. They really give. We talk about it all the time, right? It's like these big events. It's a wide variety. And for us, we kind of just want to know how they look in the paddock, X, Y, and Z. It was a completely fantastic coverage, and for people that weren't there, I think they did a really good job as well. They really made it entertaining if you didn't know what was going on. So it's nice that they did a really good job for everyone. A lot of people were intrigued. It seemed like more than normal. People that usually aren't horse racing fans. That's kind of the general consensus I got this year. So
Good. That is good.
Well, Ryan, when next year when we find out that the Kentucky Derby is presented by Run Happy, we'll know really what that $2 million was all about. So maybe it was a good deal for him.
Hey, shout out to David Cohen too. That was a good ride on Keep Me in Mind. So shout out David Cohen.
For everyone listening, I think the question we all want to know is how many beds are there in that room of yours? Is it one or are there two beds?
There's two.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
We're
think.
good.
Okay.
We're good.
Yeah,
I think that
Anyway.
was good. Clear that up.
All right, guys.
One's for the Tinder girls, one's for Aaron. So
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm tired, man.
all right,
Hey, listen.
we'll wrap this
Yeah.
up. Thank you, everybody, for following along with us all weekend. Of course, coming to the side, checking the content. Vinny did some of the recaps for us today, so thank you, Vinny. Oh, by the way,
Oh yeah, special announcement. Magic is a dad.
He's
Oh.
a dad.
Yes.
I didn't-
So,
Yeah. So that's if you didn't see much of Magic today on social media and why he's not here right now, well, he's got a little one he's trying to take care of for the first day
it's
ever.
officially
so.
a first Saturday of May Derby baby.
Oh, and Love won out today. Love always wins with Curtis Cody and Megan Devine
Oh.
engaged today in the winner's
Oh,
circle. Love always wins.
You're supposed to lead with that.
I forgot.
Oh, it's
Also, you guys didn't do a live stream during the day today. Silvermaker finished second today at Fonder Park.
Oh,
So just
wow.
letting the Silvermaker tracker out there know he's still undefeated on live streams.
That is, yeah, of course. Yes, yeah. Man, I wish we would have done it. He would have won. I didn't know that he was running, though. I forgot to watch him. Damn it.
Yeah,
I didn't watch it either.
and I think he did name his son Medina, actually.
I thought he named him Silvermaker.
It's Medina
Medina
Silvermaker.
Silvermaker Callard.
I thought it was Prime Factor. I mean, he traded enough to get him.
God, he was awful today too, wasn't he? Jeez, that horse just
He sucks.
He sucks something fierce.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
guys.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following us all the weekend. We'll be back, of course, next week with all our official recaps of the Derby, and of course, take a breath and be looking at the Preakness. We'll be heading back tomorrow, right?
To what?
Home.
Yes, home.
Yes,
I thought you meant to the track. I was like, we're going back?
No, fuck
No.
They're not open, so you're not going.
no.
No, we're going to
we're
go
going to
shopping. We're going shopping tomorrow,
Gotta
everyone.
go get some. Gotta get some stuff for my kids. So, but no, we'll be back next week. And thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. He's Ricky. He's Ryan, and he's Vinny. Good luck this weekend.
Go David Cohen.
Do it for Ryan. See you guys.